Envelopes are great tools to bring movement to a sound. And lately I've been using the envelope slapback trick a lot. The idea is simple. It's very common to use the clock of a sequencer to trigger a simple envelope to modulate a filter or VCA. If you use each step to trigger a second, slightly delayed envelope, you can use the combination of envelopes for interesting sounds. For example, to create a slapback delay-like effect, interesting modulation for sound design tricks, or complex movement in generative patches. You can use a dedicated trigger delay or something like the end of rise, fall, or any other stage from a function generator or envelope. I'm using the end of rise from my ADAC 506 for this. Adjusting the envelope controls the delay time. And if your envelope has CV inputs, you can modulate the delay time as well. If you don't have this option, there are other ways to achieve the same effect. I'll explain those in the last chapter of this video. This year I put the focus on independent, unsponsored videos like this one. If you want to support my work or get access to PDF sheets with hundreds of patch ideas I used in my videos, have a look at my Patreon. You can also support my channel through affiliate links in the video description. But now, let's dive right in. A simple way to use this trick is to create a slapback delay-like sound. But within a modular, you can sculpt the effect with great detail. Here's the basic setup with a regular synth voice, sequencer and an envelope modulating the filter. A copy of the sequencer's clock is delayed and triggering a second envelope. That envelope is modulating the filter as well, creating a slapback delay-like sound. You can see the two envelopes being triggered here. Let's mix in the second. Both envelopes influence the sound. And the trigger delay controls the swing. There are many ways to add subtle modulation to this. You can send the second envelope through a VCA to control the modulation depth. You can modulate the VCA with something like an LFO to fade the delay in and out. Adding a very subtle modulation to the trigger delay will create some inconsistency in the delay time. I use the end of rise output of the ADAC 506 as trigger delay. So I modulate the rise time to add variation to the delay time. In this setup, the delay time is steady again, but instead of just the second envelope, the main envelope is sent through a VCA as well. That VCA is also modulated with a free-running sine wave LFO. In this setup, the influence of both envelopes is constantly shifting. This creates nice rhythms, so in this demo I added a simple kick and head to emphasize that. Here is a similar voice. This time with high and low pass filter and sequencer triggering an envelope. In this setup, that envelope is sent to a crossfader, along with a second delayed envelope. Something like a slow LFO can modulate the crossfader and sweep the filter modulation between the two envelopes. This creates an interesting shifting result. Here I'm actually using an envelope with built-in delay stage. This is great for many things. You can have a look at this video about envelopes if you'd like to learn more about that. Here's the same voice with crossfader. Another simple trick to add movement is modulating an envelope. Here, only the decay of the delayed envelope is modulated with an LFO. Here's the simple voice again, without crossfader and just the regular and delayed envelopes modulating the filter. To add dynamics to this patch, both envelopes are modulated, this time with a random voltage, and both the attack and decay times are modulated. Here's the exact same patch, but slowed down and with slow sequencer settings. A copy of the sequencer's clock is sent through a clock divider, and the gate division is used to transpose the sequence. It's easy to demonstrate the slapback idea in faster sequences, but it's also great for slow generative setups. Instead of just modulating the filter, you can use this effect on any parameter in your voice to create interesting sounds. Here are a few ideas. Here's the dual filter voice again. The sequencer is tuning the wavetable oscillator and triggering a regular envelope opening the filter. In this setup, the delayed envelope is used to modulate the wavetable of the oscillator. You can experiment with different destinations in your setup, like wave folders, distortions, effects modules, and so on. Here's a simple sequenced voice with a mixer patch between the oscillator and filter. A second delayed envelope is modulating the filter as well. But a copy of that envelope is used to open a VCA, allowing a noise source to flow into the voice through the mixer. A random voltage is modulating the main envelope, creating a push-pull-like sound, while the second plucky envelope adds a percussive steady spike to the sound. If you'd like to learn more about using noise, make sure to watch this video later. Here's a similar sequenced voice, without mixer, but with a second delayed envelope opening the filter. Again, a copy of that envelope is opening a VCA. But this time, a second steady oscillator is used as the input for that VCA, and the output is modulating the frequency of the main oscillator. VCAs are powerful tools to control modulation depth like this. A copy of the clock is sent to a divider and used to transpose the sequence again, pushing the patch more into self-playing territory. Again, these patches also work great with slow settings. This is the exact same patch. Remember, you can always use an envelope or any kind of modulation for that matter to modulate multiple parameters. Here, a copy of the first envelope is modulating the frequency of the modulator oscillator, creating subtle FM drifts. Also, a modular reverb is used and a copy of the second envelope is modulating the clock speed of that effect. Just experiment with different destinations in your setup. And the final note, of course, this trick isn't limited to just using one delayed envelope. You could use multiple trigger delays to trigger multiple envelopes with different delay times. There are multiple ways to create a delayed envelope. Here are a few options. Here you see a simple synth voice with sequencer and regular envelope modulating the filter. The easiest option is to send a copy of the sequencer's trigger to a trigger delay and then to a second envelope. Depending on the trigger delay you use, you have the option to modulate the delay time with something like an LFO. An alternate option is to trigger a function generator or envelope and use an end of stage output to trigger a second delay. In this setup, you can modulate the rise or fall time of the function generator to modulate the delay time. A third option is to hack the system a bit. A lot of triggered envelopes will fire if a signal at the input passes a threshold. Here you see an orange gate signal passing a threshold and the output of the envelope fired at that point. However, if you use a slow rising envelope at the trigger input, it will take a hot second before it passes the threshold and thus trigger the envelope with a delay. Here is that idea in a flowchart. A copy of the clock is sent to a slow rising envelope. That slow rising envelope is used to trigger a third envelope with a delay. You might want to patch an attenuator or VCA in between to get the control you need. A VCA also allows for CV control over the delay time. Similarly, CV control over the attack time of the rising envelope will alter the delay time. Another trick is to use a clock running at twice the speed of your sequence. Use a divider to bring your sequencer to regular speed. Then send the double time clock through a switch to trigger two envelopes. Use the same double time clock to switch the outputs. This will alternate the envelopes. Let me know if you have other ideas for this trick. If you'd like to learn more, have a look here, and as always, smash that like, subscribe and bell button if you want to see more modular content from me. But that's it for now, thanks for watching and see you next time.